the federal government is always going to play an important role in this work, and so we're very, very excited to have this panel of federal representatives to talk about they have all been very engaged. All of these agencies have been very engaged in the whole process that Patrice talked about with all the different working groups. So what we'd like to do is, as we introduce the panel, is I've asked each of our panelists to introduce themselves, a little bit about their programs, and to share what they consider to be one of the most significant accomplishments that their agency has achieved over the past couple of years in working with the coalition. So I guess we'll just go down the line here, and we'll start with my friend Deanna Lucero, who's been doing this work for a very long time, so we're gonna just let folks introduce themselves, their program, and talk about one of your most significant accomplishments.
Thank you, Joanna. Yes, I'm Deanna Lucero. I'm with the Office of Loan Guarantee, Section 184 program. I was one of the first people hired in 1997 when the program was created. So I've been doing this for 22 years. I'm very proud to say that we are one of the leading loan programs in Indian country. We still have a lot to be accomplished, as we all know, which is why we're all here together today. So obviously our mission is to bring mortgage capital to underserved Indian communities, which again, we do recognize and we try to focus on quite often. As the statistics show, a lot of our lending has been off-reservation. We've been meeting the needs of what we call urban Indians, while we still continue to focus on bringing mortgage capital to the tribe, to the reservation, correct? Accomplishments, I would like to say we have many, and I don't mean that as a bragging point, but I really believe that we do. I hear in the last couple days in every event that we go to, 184 is starting to become a household name, and so that makes me very proud that we're meeting our goals. But unfortunately, we're not meeting them well enough. You know, we're not meeting the numbers we'd like to meet. In the 22 years that we've been funded, we've never used all of our capital, right? Congress allocates money to us to spend in Indian communities, and every year at the end of the year, we have money left over. Fortunately, they've allowed us to carry that over, and we add it to the next year's budget. But ideally, I would like to say we'd met our goal if we spent all of our money. We do partner with lenders and tribes and the Bureau and all the players necessary to get the mortgage capital to the tribal reservations, right? A focus, and Bob Gochi mentioned on that earlier, we are starting to focus more on taking the capital to the tribe and the housing authority. An individual, he or she can only get one mortgage at a time, where the tribe or the housing authority is based on capacity. Initially, we'll make 1 to 20 loans to the tribe or the housing authority, but once they've demonstrated their capacity, there is no ceiling. And I'll give an example. White Mountain Apache has 319 184 loans on their reservation. Every single one of those homes is tenant occupied by a tribal member, right? So that's something that we're focusing on this year and then years going forward, to take more capital to the tribe and the housing authority.
Thanks, Deanna. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Ted. And Ted, I don't know if is yours. You just pull up. I can give you the mic if it's not. It doesn't go on. Ted and his colleague Lynn have been very, very engaged in the working groups. So we're very excited to have him talk about his accomplishments as well.
Well, thanks, Joanna. My name's Ted Bulow. I am one of 2 Native American coordinators for USDA Rural Development. I live and work out of Denver, Colorado. Just take a second to give you a little information about myself. I'm not the most public of personalities, so just so that you know, I'm home this week. It's very nice to be home. My ancestors are from here. I'm not native, but we're 4 generations of Minnesotans. We were colonists originally, so I acknowledge that, but my sister lives about a mile that way, so I'm staying with her, and my mom and dad live about 10 miles west of us in a suburb called Plymouth. So they're up here with me today, and I'm proud to be back home, and so I feel centered, both in the work and in the place where we are today. A little bit about rural development. I mentioned our water and waste programs earlier today, but rural development, really about a third of what we do is housing, both rural rental housing and home ownership programs, as well as home repair programs. The other third is where we help finance infrastructure. That's including water and waste infrastructure, broadband infrastructure, and electric infrastructure in rural communities. And then the final third is where we work on business and cooperative development all through loan guarantees, direct loans, and grants. And so we work with a lot of different partners, a lot of different tribes, a lot of different nonprofits, and a lot of different units of government, tribal governments, local governments, county governments, depending on our programs. What I'm most proud about is twofold. I'm going to use just a second to reintroduce Lynn Trujillo and my colleague Andrea Hively. Is Andrea in the room? No. You here, Andrea? Wave. She's here. She's been behind the scenes, also very involved in the lending subcommittee work. But Lynn Trujillo has been really a gift to USDA Rural Development. She's worked with us for about 3 years, and it's made a team of 1 into a team of 2, which doesn't seem like much, but she's really improved me as a person and as a professional. So I really want to tip my hat to her and all the work that she's done since she's gotten here. And that's one of the most things I'm proud about, is just the commitment of our team to this work, to the National Native Homeownership Coalition. Lynn is leading up arguably one of the toughest subcommittees to try to tackle some of these really thorny issues that have stayed with us now for decades. Andrea Hively's been behind the scenes on the loan products subcommittee and supporting that work and making sure folks know about not only rural development but other resources. And then we have a person that's not here, a gentleman named Bob Hitchcock, who works in our Riverton office right off of Wind River, the Wind River Reservation, and he's been very involved. And both he and Lynn bring a legal acumen to the discussion that I don't have. They're both lawyers. They both worked for tribes, and I'm just really proud of the way we've represented USDA through that work. The second thing is I want the folks that have been involved with the South Dakota Native Homeownership Coalition just to stand up, because this is a shared. Tawny, don't look around. You need to stand up. Joanna, you need to stand up. Sharon, you need to stand up. Leslie, I don't know who else. Bruce, you don't get off the hook. JC, you don't get off the hook. Jewel, Burnett, yeah. Everyone who's been involved in that work, I just want to say that a public thank you for your help in supporting us. No, you don't get to sit down yet, Bruce. Everyone, you can go ahead and sit down. Thank you. The reason I'm tipping my hat to them is that just after Memorial Day this year, we announced a pilot project to lend 502 direct money to 2 Native CDFIs in South Dakota. It happened in South Dakota, not coincidentally, but because of the South Dakota Native Homeownership Coalition and them being both patient and at times persistent and at times
Who, me?
other adjectives. Everybody. And what we're able to do in that regard is to do long-term 1% interest loans to 2 Native CDFIs. The terms are 30 years, 1% interest rate. Bruce knows the math better than anyone because he actually did it a couple times on the back of a napkin for me. But it's another way for us to deliver homeownership financing on tribal trust lands. That's what it's specifically designed for. And we've had our challenges. I think most of the people know about our challenges of delivering 502 direct mortgages to Native people on tribal trust land. We're not giving up. Someone asked us at a conference, does that mean you're not going to do traditional 502 direct loans? No, that means we're going to continue to plug away that way. We're going to see how the pilot goes in South Dakota with Mazaska and with 4 bands. So 4 bands serves Cheyenne River and other reservations across South Dakota. Mazaska serves primarily the Pine Ridge Reservation. Whatever you can do to support those 2 organizations to be successful, it's critical so that we can help grow that in the future. There's some people in the room who are already interested in expanding it. We want to, but this is a pilot to see how it works, and we'll go from there. So sorry, it's more than 5 minutes. Thank you.
That's good. That's good. And I'll add on to that Kristen is here from 4 Band. So Kristen, stand up. She's another partner with the Native Coalition in South Dakota, and I'm going to embarrass her and make her stand up because, as Ted said, if you're looking to support this pilot, come visit her. And there are many of you in the room. And I'm looking over here at this way towards Suzanne. There are many of in the room here that are jumping in behind this pilot, so thanks for talking about that. Okay, so let's keep going. Tim.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Tim LaPointe. I'm the Regional Director for the Bureau of Indian Affairs Midwest region. And the Midwest region covers the states of Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. There are 35 tribes within those states, and we carry out our trust responsibility to those tribes. Our primary responsibility is managing the trust assets, trust land, and the trust land can be in the form of the allotted land owned by individuals and tribes, and then tribal trust land owned by the tribes. At least the beneficial title is owned by the tribes. The underlying title is held by the United States. So our mission, and for me, every time I try to talk or speak about what we do, I always like to highlight our mission statement. And within the Bureau, our mission statement is enhance quality of life, promote economic opportunity, and protect and improve trust assets of Native Americans, Indian tribes, and Alaska Natives. So what we're talking about here today falls squarely within our mission. And I think our role in this is twofold. One, we provide real estate services, which means we approve the lease, the leasehold mortgage, and then we also have the Land Titles and Records Office, which is located now in Ashland, Wisconsin since 2015. Previously, it had been located in the Great Plains region in Aberdeen, South Dakota. So we have our own title plant now, and we're able to record and process those documents here in the Midwest region. So I think that has been an improvement, and hopefully it improves our services because we have a little more control, at least what happens in the Midwest region. So with that in mind, our accomplishments are, I would like to say we have many accomplishments. I know this morning we were criticized for not providing title status reports timely, getting the documents recorded so we can provide the certified title status reports more quickly. And that's what I would like to see some improvement on. If truly it's taking 4 years for us to provide a TSR, that's not good enough. And I talked to our staff before this, before I came here, and after the discussion this morning. And based on what I'm hearing, it's taking us usually 1 to 5 days, if there are no problems, to record the lease. And our goal is to provide the TSR, the certified TSR, again, if there's no problems, within 1 to 2 days. That's our goal. And I want to strive to make it. So if there's something out there, if there's somebody there that we're not providing that service, or you're not getting the TSR within that time frame, and you have something pending right now, I want to know. I've been the regional director here now for a month. I'm in my 2nd month here. So I do. I want to identify the issues so we can do something about it. Because that discussion this morning really makes me angry. I want to do something about it. But I need to know at the same time. So hey, I'll be here all day. Come see me if you've got something pending with us that we're not providing that service. Also, we have the HIP program, and that's funding is somewhat limited, but we've had some success in providing some down payment assistance and across the country, and I think we've been able to leverage about $1.8 million in home ownership over this past year. So I think that's a big accomplishment for the Bureau. And then our engagement with the Hearth Act, with the tribes. There are, again, 35 tribes within the Midwest. 17 of those tribes had their own regulations for residential leases. So I think we need to continue to push that. So.
Great, thank you, Tim. And I think this is a great reminder of the fact that that federal agencies are institutions, but what's really going to make this work happen is the people within them. So thank you for your commitment to this work, Tim. And along the same lines, I know that the BIA and the VA departments often get beat up, but the folks at the table are really committed to this work. And this room, I think there's a lot of secret weapons in this room. That's what the people that can get stuff done. who really care enough about the issue and that they'll keep working until things happen. That's what I call a secret weapon. Well, there's a secret weapon sitting down there at the end of the table. Dean Eckes has been also a very active member of the South Dakota Native Homeownership Coalition on behalf of Veterans Affairs, and he's very committed to the veterans in South Dakota and his entire region. So I'm excited for you guys to meet Dean.
Well, I don't need to introduce myself. I don't know. Sorry, my voice doesn't carry very well, so I do need a microphone. I'd like to start. How many veterans out there right now? Hands? Thank you all very much. If there's one thing that I would get across today, and my coworker Sean will attest to, I'm here for veterans, period. It doesn't matter who they are. If they're a veteran, that's why I'm here. And I got invited 2 years ago to a coalition meeting, and Joanna's right, it's not fun. We got pretty beat up. One member brought barbecue sauce and napkins because I got roasted pretty good. But the idea really is, and I think I'm going to the accomplishments first, is just sticking to it. We're very committed to it. I've got a great group of staff here in Minneapolis, or in St. Paul, excuse me. We're located over by the airport. Anytime we need anything, they drop what they're doing and help. And so for us, our program's not fun. We're a federal government agency, and we've got a ton of paperwork. We try very hard to streamline, and what we found out working through the coalition and with the coalition is that there are a lot of secret weapons out there, and we've been working with the secret weapons. And this year we're on track to double the number of VA Native American direct loans from what we did last year, which is a major accomplishment, I believe, in our book. We've done it through creative but legal. Tawny, where are you, Tawny? They're legal. There you are, yeah. Ways of going about trying to streamline and get veterans into homes, and we'll continue to do that. So as I answer the question, what are we going to do to later on to keep going? I'm going to keep going to the coalition, and I was in San Diego and Anaheim last month, just making myself known and finding out what people can do for my veterans, as well as what I can do for them to help veterans. I've been working for the VA now for 18 and a half years, and as Sean will attest to, I have 22 months before I get to retire, so I have a lot of work to do, because I would really love to see a huge push for home ownership. And I'm going to just say for Native Americans, but more specifically veterans. Housing's needed. There's no doubt about it, and we've got to figure out ways of making that happen. So, thank you.
Okay, so we can't. It's always nice to celebrate our accomplishments, but we can't stop there, right? We can't rest on our laurels. There's a lot of work to be done, as everyone has said the past day and a half. So what I'd like to ask the panel now is to talk about some of the ongoing streamlining work that you'll be continuing to work on within your federal agencies to promote the flow of capital onto trust land specifically. And not for any particular reason, but I'm going to start with Tim. I want to start with Tim about the ongoing work that you and your team, we've talked about, Tim and I, in preparing for this panel, talked about the fact that he's got a lot of colleagues in the central office who have done a lot of great work as part of these committees. So I know that, again, it's the people that are committed to these issues, and the federal agencies have their overall mission. And when the people who are really committed to those missions do this work, it's when the magic happens. So I'll let you turn it over to Tim.
And I think we do have some very good staff in the Bureau of Indian Affairs who are committed to providing services to the tribes and individuals. And central office is certainly part of that. And to that end, I know Charlene Roundface is here in the audience somewhere. But we're working to provide better tracking of the workload that we have. We have a TSR module within our Trust Assets Accounting Management System, and which will provide us a better way to hopefully provide the title status reports and perform our work. If we can track it and find out where it's at a little better, then hopefully that will improve our services. We're also working with the tribes, and I misspoke earlier, I need to clarify. I indicated that 17 tribes had approved their Hearth Act regs, and that's really, I believe, 6 tribes. The 17 that I referenced, actually, that was for the TAMS access, and that's something else that we are pushing in order to work with the tribes, provide the tribes more control. If they have the access to our county management system, then they will be able to do hopefully more of the work right there on the reservation. So with our continued support. Now, there is a process for doing that, and it does take, it's not immediate when the tribe wants to have that access. There's training that's involved. There's background checks that we still have to do to make sure that the individuals who will have access clear the background checks. So it is a process, but it's something that we have strived to improve and ensure that the tribes that want access have access to that system.
So Tim, if a tribe wants to go through that training in order to access TAMS, who should they contact within their
Either the
their
superintendent.
region? The superintendent.
We have 3 agencies in Michigan, Wisconsin, and then Minnesota agency of Michigan, are the regional office. Any of us can make sure that we get the information to the contact, if it's whatever tribal leader it is, and we do actively push this. And so contact us. Again, the training I mentioned yesterday, it's on a need basis. We don't have anything scheduled right now, but if we need to schedule the TAMS training, we can certainly do that. Yeah, I mean, it's our engagement with the tribes. I think that's where we're going to see, I think, more improvement the more we engage with the tribes.
Anything else you wanted to mention in terms of activities you're working on for streamlining?
No.
Got it. Okay, great. So we'll keep going. Ted, talk to us a little bit about what's going on in RD going forward.
So directly from our work in the subcommittees, we've taken on the challenge to create some guidance for our staff around the country. I mentioned yesterday, for those of you who were there, that our staff isn't particularly highly trained and highly focused on doing tribal trust land loans. The origination is one challenge, but what we're focusing on throughout this summer is to develop a guide for our staff on managing delinquencies and defaults on tribal trust land, because I've become more and more convinced that that's part of our origination challenge, is how we work with tribes, how we work with TDHEs, how we work with borrowers, first and foremost to keep them in their house, and if that's not possible, how do we find that next eligible tribal member to assume the lease and move into that property. It's very important that we normalize that process as much as we can to help out future homeowners, but also to assist our staff. So the people I mentioned prior, Bob Hitchcock, Lynn, myself, and Andrea, have drafted a start of that document. We've shared it with program directors around the nation that are particularly active, and some that weren't particularly active with the tribes in providing our loan assistance on tribal trust lands, to get their feedback. And so now our hope is to try to get that as close to finalization internally so we can put it into clearance by the end of this fiscal year, which is September 30th.
Great. I think what's great about rural development is that even though you are a federal agency, and like in your case, Deanna, you guys have the 184 and you're a guarantee, but RD is a federal agency but also a lender, and so that's great data about and great experience in your serving as a lender, and so that guidebook will be very helpful, I think. It'll be public eventually, right? Eventually.
It will be. And the one thing I wanted to mention, which is I guess an expression of my gratitude, we've got a lot of leadership support. So Lynn and I both work out in the field. Lynn's in Albuquerque, I'm in Denver. But in Washington, D.C., our program leadership as well as our new political leadership have been very supportive of this and know that our staff needs more guidance. And so, yeah, once it's made public, we're actually going to include it in our handbook rural development's a little bit boring like VA, but the way our staff knows how to do their job is there's a handbook. There's actually 2 for the 502 program. Each of them, I've never seen one printed out, but they're big. So this guide will be an appendix to the handbook, so it'll be part of the official instructions that our staff get, so that they know how to navigate these situations.
And I don't know how, there's lenders in the room, right? There's a lot of lenders in the room, different types of lenders. Would any lender in the room be interested in reading that type of guidebook that talks about the foreclosure process? Yeah, it's definitely something that would be of interest for other lenders as well, not just the federal. Even the CDFIs are saying, yep, yep. Okay, another federal agency that is also a lender is the VA. So let's hear from Dean about what's on your horizon.
There, now we got one. Good. On our horizon, we continue to encourage MOUs from different memorandum of understandings from the different tribes. I know that right now we have one that's just about ready to be signed. We'll have probably a signing ceremony in the next couple months in North Dakota. That's the first step for us to be able to lend on Indian country, and so we'll continue to do that. One of the things that we've started doing and we've been ramping up is we started in South Dakota as a result of the coalition, where we did packaging training for a bunch of CDFIs and TDHEs to help. Who's got a phone? It's coming through this. Somebody's got an open mic. Oh, there we go. Oh. I'll just proceed. So anyway,
It's the central office calling.
yeah. It's Richard, he's supposed to be here. He's ready to just call in and I can get out of this, but no. No, I enjoy talking about it, so bear with me as I said that. We put together a packaging program so that the CDFIs and the TDHEs can know what it is that VA wants as far as paperwork for a loan application. And we spent a day in was it Rapid City or Pierre? In Pierre. Pierre, excuse me. With that, then now more recently, we also went and did some construction training for contractors, and we took in applications for Native American construction companies that want to build homes, and where the Native American is actually using our program, you have to have a builder ID number. And when we walked away from just that one session, we walked away with 9 applications, and we now have 9 contractors that are Native American contractors, Native American companies that are on our list of approved builders. So we're going to continue that, and hopefully we'll work with the coalition as well as we have 9 states, so we're going to be expanding that out more so that we can get more contractors. One of the bigger issues that we have is just getting the contractors and appraisers, compliance inspectors, so that was a start in that direction. We also have gotten approval from almost all 9 of our states for doing continuing education for appraisers. And for those that don't know, appraisers have to have continuing education, and those courses can be quite costly. We provide it free of charge. We did one in South Dakota during the same time as the contractor training, and we got 2 appraisers that came to the training that were not on VA's panel, and they are now on the panel. And we all know, if you know Native American, the appraisers are hard to come by as well, and so we're actively encouraging and hoping to get more. So we do have one, I believe next month we're scheduled to begin Sioux Falls to do that. We usually go through realtors, NAR, to set them up because they have the space and they have the contacts. So we'll continue to do that. We've got a lot of things going, and we're going to continue pushing forward in the near future. The only thing I have to say is if you need help, I have a card, and I'll be there to help.
Thanks, Dean.
Yeah.
And Dean can't talk about it, but there are some great things happening on the policy front as well, to enhance and to build on the work that he and his team are doing to expand the policies available to broaden partnerships. So hopefully we'll see some great things coming through that as well. So Deanna. Yes. What's on your horizon? What's going on with ONAP? There we go.
What's on my horizon? Well, I'm actually really kind of excited because the last 2 days has talked
Don't
about...
say because it's you're retiring.
I am retiring next year. He said 22 months, I'm down to 13, but anyway, just bragging. It's not about me. No, last 2 days we've been talking about education, right? And we've also been talking about bringing mortgage capital to the reservation. Back in May, HUD 184 and the Bureau of Indian Affairs Central Office, we got together, we partnered, and July 29th through August 2nd, we are hosting a course. There will be 40 individuals from the BIA and 40 individuals from our lending community, and the 3 days will be spent specifically on how to bring mortgage capital to the reservation. We are going to talk about issues as TSRs, leases, tribal approval, down payment, how to underwrite a loan on a reservation. There will be no mention these 3 days of fee simple lending. So again, partnering with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, 1.5 days, the BIA will be talking about their role for leasing, TSRs, et cetera. The other day and a half, us HUD 184 staff will be talking about underwriting, our need for the TSR, our need for the lease, et cetera. So I'm pretty excited because a day and a half we've been hearing about education, and I think we're on target. So we are
Say the
going to
dates again. The dates and location again.
The location is Denver, Colorado. The dates are July 29th through August 2nd. Again, we have 80 folks signed up, 40 that are lenders and 40 that are Bureau of Indian Affairs. Proud to say we're sold out. And I need 80 of these, please, autographed. These would be very helpful in my session, so thank you. So, there you go.
Great. And any other activities you want to talk about? Okay, great. Don't want to cut any progress off. I'm just making sure. Okay, some more questions then. And of course, the title of this panel is Harmonizing Federal Agencies. So let's talk about a little bit about harmony, working together. I think someone this morning talked about the importance of the federal agencies coordinating on environmental reviews. That's an important part of the process, obviously. And I know you guys aren't in the environmental divisions, but I just wanted to restate that in this context, is working together on environmental reviews. And let me stick with you, Deanna. The steps to participate in federal agency programs are different for each agency, but there are some common themes, like the lease document and requiring a mortgage ordinance. Can you talk a little bit about efforts that either in the past or how they've evolved over time about how the federal agencies can coordinate together to streamline that process of review?
Review on the environmental or just review in general?
Just to participate, like with the lease and the codes and things like that.
Yeah, we partner, for example, the federal government agencies partnered and we came up with a one-stop lease that we rolled out, I want to say about 10 years ago, and the hopes of that was that we would use one lease for all the government programs, and the tribe could elect to use this lease when leasing tribal trust lands. Not all of the tribes elected to use it, but I would say a fair amount. Wouldn't you say, Ted? About a dozen or so that we had to use the lease.
More that did the lease, but less than the ordinances, I guess.
Yeah, the lease with the ordinances. We partner with the Bureau. We're having discussions right now in regards to environmental. We recognize that, there's a dual, right? The BIA has an environmental and HUD has an environmental. We keep addressing that. And hopefully we can come together and come to an agreement with one environmental. So we do partner. We do work together on various issues, discussions.
Ted, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes. First on the environmental issues, a little bit wonky, so I'll try not to go on too long. But there is a working group. Does anyone know what the GAO is? The Government Accountability Office. So they've done a number of reports on tribal housing. The last one they did was, I think, 2014. Does anyone remember? Winter of 2014, maybe early 2015. And it had a number of recommendations. That's how GAO reports work. Someone from Congress asks GAO to do a report, then they find findings and they give recommendations back to agencies. One of them was to streamline the environmental review process. And it's been a slog, as some things are in the federal government, but we continue to meet, and Hillary Atkin from HUD's ONAP in Washington, D.C. is the lead on that, and she's gearing up to send out another Dear Tribal Leader letter on what that organization, what this working group has been working on, and we're hungry for input from people like Jewel and and Jason specifically, but TDHEs and tribal leaders on if we're on the right track. There'll be some information on what we've worked on and what we intend to work on in the future. But know that folks are working on it. That doesn't mean we're fixed much. I don't know if we fixed anything to date, but there's also some legislative fixes that have been floated so that the tribes that are doing their own environmentals, that one can be the environmental reviews that other agencies can adopt. It gets pretty thorny. We don't have the legal authority to adopt in whole, whether it's HUD's or EPA's or Department of Energy's environmental documents. It's a legal difference on how each agency has written their rules about NEPA compliance. So what we try to do is build off what's already done. And we try to do that every time at rural development, is what does HUD's or the tribe's NEPA look like, and what can we adopt so that rural development's NEPA requirements are satisfied. So we try to build off of anything that's been done, but the one sticking thing, and I don't know if this is a regulatory or a legislative fix, is they expire. And so to Jules' point, if you got a lease, it's had its NEPA review, it's been approved, but the clock starts ticking as soon as that NEPA has been done. And so if you've got an extended amount of time to get credit or to get a house built and it expires, you have to do the exact same thing over. And if you've already completed it with HUD or the Bureau, we might be the bad guys because it's expired. So I don't know how we, without shortening the time frames, how you get some relief of those NEPA expirations. Said I wouldn't get too wonky, but that's pretty wonky. So.
Well, but it's on the environmental working group. If groups, anyone in the room, or TDHEs, or perhaps a national trade association that represents TDHEs, might want to engage in that process.
And AHC has been engaged.
Okay, good.
Linda Lee, who's in the room, has been on many of those calls and has been.
Of course, Linda is.
Listening.
Another secret weapon back there, Linda Lee. But if folks want to engage.
Yeah, you can talk to us. I would recommend you reach out directly to Hillary Atkin, just because HUD's the lead agency on that process.
Okay.
But feel free to engage with any of us to see how you can get.
Beyond the environmental coordination, any suggestions? I know we haven't quite cracked the nut on this, but how can the federal agencies work together more closely on the mortgage document review process?
I want to riff off of our secretary. Our secretary currently is Sonny Perdue, and one thing that he's done for all the department is to try to get us to be more customer focused, and I don't see as our trust obligation, our relationship with tribal members, to be a customer experience. It's more than that, but I think we can build off of that. And what worries me is similar to the way we've done NEPA reviews. We all have to, if a tribe does not elect to use the one-stop documents, the mortgage ordinances, the foreclosure ordinances, and the lease, then every agency, VA, rural development, and HUD have to do an independent review. Since we're a direct lender, it's not just Lynn and I that do it. Our general counsel, our attorneys also get involved. And that gets pretty intense, and it gets very much into the weeds. So my hope is that somehow HUD has by far completed many more reviews than I think the VA. I know I can speak for rural development. They've approved many tribes for the 184 program. Rural development has approved less. So my hope is how we can, similar to the NEPA process, flawed as it may be, build off of HUD or VA's legal reviews and only look at those things that are still a stickler for rural development's authorities. I think we can do a better job in that. And the customer in that is not only the borrower, but the tribe having to go through these different funnels, which is the exact reason why the one-stop process was put out there. So there was only one tunnel that folks had to go through. If folks don't agree or adopt the model documents, then there's still these tunnels. And what's happened is that our attorneys have nitpicked on requirements that these agencies have said need to be in there because our attorneys aren't talking to each other. So if there's a way we can streamline that review process, it's going to help borrowers and it's going to help our relationships with tribes, I believe.
You want to add to that?
Well, yes, because and I think that's very important. The faster we can do a review, the fewer problems we're going to have. Because what I've seen in the past is when there's a problem, or some of the issues that we've seen is when there's an issue with the legal description. Because within the Bureau of Indian Affairs, we will review that legal description as part of the lease review or leasehold mortgage review, and then prior to approving that lease. Now, it goes to another review after it goes to the LTRO for recording. And anywhere in that process, and then after it's recorded, it goes to a post-QA review. So anywhere within those reviews, if something is caught, and we have caught things at the very end of the process, and it grinds things to a halt. So if somehow we can improve the way that we're doing that review on the front end and make sure that the legal descriptions are correct, and it's going to be correct on the lease, it's going to be correct on the mortgage, going to be recorded correctly. If somehow we can improve that process, I think it would. We might be able to get things done a little faster. So.
Great. Okay, thanks, Tim. Okay, I want to shift gears a little bit here, talk about one more issue, and that is something that's come up on all of the panels this morning and at lunch and even yesterday, is about the role of the tribes in the mortgage lending process. So obviously the federal agencies have the important role that they play with the mortgage lending process, depending on the type of program we're talking about that the tribal citizen is pursuing. But I wanted to ask the panel what support they think would be helpful from external stakeholders to help streamline the mortgage lending process on trust land, especially from tribes and TDHEs. And what is it that a tribe and tribe and or TDHE can do to help again encourage that flow of capital onto trust land? And Deanna looks like she's ready to go, so I'm going to just go ahead and turn it over to her.
My turn. Well, of course, in order for us to bring mortgage capital to the tribal community, first and foremost, we work with the tribe to set up the legal infrastructure. After they do that, then we'll sit down and talk with the tribe about their extended role, and things that we like to see is first and foremost homebuyer counseling or homebuyer assistance. Because oftentimes the tribal member, the first go-to is either the tribe or the housing authority, correct? Although HUD 184 does not mandate homebuyer counseling, we all in this room know that it's crucial. Education is crucial, right, to be successful. And so oftentimes we ask the tribe to assist by giving education and or counseling. Financial assistance is always crucial as well. With the 184
Like
loan
down payment and closing costs?
Yeah, because on the 184 loan program, 100% of the down payment can be paid by the tribe or the housing authority. So in other words, our tribal member can come in with no financial no money in the for the down payment, right? So we'll talk to the tribe or the housing authority about how either they can give down payment, they can leverage resources, they can do second mortgages, things of that sort. And lastly, we will talk to the tribe about infrastructure. Oftentimes building on a reservation, we lack infrastructure, right? And of course, if the tribal member has to pay for those costs, then suddenly the home is no longer affordable. So we'll talk with the tribe about either assisting with roadways, partnering with Indian Housing Services to get well and septic and things of that sort to make it affordable.
How about what role can the tribe or TDHE play in the back end in case in the case where something doesn't go well? Ted.
So I don't know if I'm brave enough as President Garcia was. I don't know if I should ask your permission to speak, but I'm asking your permission to speak as a non-native government employee about an issue that I've never experienced. I've never been a tribal leader. I'm never going to be. But my informed opinion would be that we need to rural development and the federal agencies need to better partner with tribal governments to increase the flow of capital. And that's across the board. And I'm not asking you to trust me, nor Lynn, nor our agency, but I'm asking for tribes and TDHEs to give us the chance to earn your trust. Because if we try to do it alone, which we have in the past, we're going to screw it up. And if we're able to partner with the tribe, if we're able to partner with the TDHEs, both on origination and on servicing, and the CDFIs for that matter, and on what do we do when it goes delinquent and default. If we just show up, which has happened in the past, when that loan is in default, people are like, where have you been for the last 7 years? That's on us for not building that relationship and being present for the last 3 years or however long it took for that loan to go south. It doesn't happen that often, but when it does, the agency and the tribe, we need to work together in a situation of shared responsibility for the benefit of the outcome of that situation, to resolve that situation so that rural development can make another loan, so that First Tribal can do another 184 for the next borrower, so that eventually there's a conventional market that's available to that person that's more predictable than it has been. And I'm not happy to, but I acknowledge that much of that responsibility is on USDA, at least with the 502 program. But it's a shared responsibility. If we don't have that true deep partnership from the get-go, and where we have had deeper partnerships, it's really worked quite well. I got in trouble yesterday for calling out a tribe in South Dakota, so I'm not going to call out that tribal relationship. But Retha Hearn's here from St. Regis Mohawk, Akwesasne Nation in New York, and the relationship that they've developed with a number of our staff, which now includes a packager who's a retired rural development employee who's feeding hungry, credit-worthy people that are ready for 502s, completely packaged, ready to go. It's not making, we're not doing dozens of loans. Every year we do 3 or 4 loans at Akwesasne because of Retha Hearn and because of our staff. So I know it's not impossible, but that took 13 years. We started with home repair loans. We started with reviewing their documents. They have an assignment law at St. Regis. We got through that hurdle. Year after year after year, our staff was present, and Retha was open to the relationship. Now, 12 years later after the approval, I don't know how many 502s we're doing, but it's remarkable to watch. So thanks to Retha and thanks to our staff in New York.
So in the situation where when you have a strong relationship and that already exists, and you when in the unlikely or the unfortunate event where there's a problem with the loan, it may not even be foreclosure. It might just be delinquency or pre-default, and you have that relationship. What role can the tribe play in that case? I mean, a lot of people talk about the right of first refusal of the tribe. But a lot of times, and in part of going back to the data discussions, folks talked about the fact that there really weren't that many tribes who had exercised that right of first refusal, which is kind of seems contradictory, given their given sovereignty and the role that the tribes play here, or the role that they have to play. So, is it an education issue, and can there be more discussion about as we're rolling out the initiative behind the Tribal Leader Handbook, you think that there's a role to play there in terms of educating tribal leaders on those types of partnerships?
I do, and I think there's a range of models that folks could follow, from what we've called risk pools, where tribes have come back and said, we'll pay off that loan and we'll take it back and we'll help manage that situation. That's not going to work in all cases, and it shouldn't be a part of a one-size-fits-all solution. But I think what sometimes gets lost is that there's an asset there. There's a house on a land lease that is worth something. And the longer that house is not cared for, the longer it remains in limbo, that the value of that property plummets. And so we've had situations as a lender where, by law, and just so everyone knows, there's no way we can alienate tribal trust land through the 502 program. By law, the only things that can happen is that loan can go to another tribal member, the TDHE, or the tribe at any point in the process. So those are the 3 parties we have to work with: another tribal member borrower, the TDHE, or the tribe. And as we're discussing things with the TDHE really doesn't have a motivation to get real involved monetarily. It's not going to be good. There's relationships that need to be maintained between families and clans and individuals. I get that. The tribe might not want to get involved. There's political implications to getting involved. I get that. But all the time, the days are passing, that asset is plummeting in value. And what are other lenders going to do when they watch that happen?
Not to
That's
mention,
the
it's
question.
a place to live where there's so much need for
Correct.
housing.
So I think that my primary message would be, what can rural development and the tribe do together to maintain the value of that asset, to transfer it on to the next borrower who is in dire need of a house? That would be, how can we work on that more collaboratively?
Okay, great. I'll stop picking on Ted, and
I do apologize, because I feel uncomfortable speaking about this publicly. It's not something that I came to the government wanting to do. I never wanted to talk about foreclosing on tribal properties. That's not a wonderful topic for anyone to talk about, but I think it's been sort of, if you build it, it will come. We just need to originate more loans. We do need to originate more loans, but we need to take care of the properties that have been financed to make it more possible for the next generation to have access to that credit.
If I could piggyback off from that a little bit as well. We call and we send letters, and what we get back as a general rule is we don't want to exercise our right, and that's fine. Things that
from tribal
governments,
yeah.
What would really be nice is if they don't want to, can we sit down with somebody, whoever they assign, and let's see about us getting an assumption. Because if we can get it assumed, we have somebody living in the house now, and within whatever amount of time, we can put another person in there, and that steep dive that he talks about goes away. And I think the biggest thing that I would say is none of us want a home. We do not want your house. We don't want the land, lease, or whatever. We're there for the Native Americans, and if we can get assumptions or have them deed it back to us, and then we can work with whoever the tribe designates to get somebody in the house as well. There are lots of options out there. It's communication.
Right. Okay,
Communication.
great. Super. Okay, thank you. Did you want to add to that?
I 100% agree with what both of them said. You know, 21 years ago when we started the 184 loan program, we really didn't want to address foreclosure. We were hoping we'd never have to.
Right.
So again, it's something that I didn't want to do, don't want to ever want to do. HUD's not in the business of acquiring real estate. It's the same. We don't want the house. We'd like to keep tribal members in.
Is there any lender in the house that's in the business of acquiring real estate? Anyone? Any lender? No? Anybody here? I didn't think so. So you know, thank you guys for sharing your, you know, for having those difficult discussions, because it does inform the rest of the industry and helps to streamline the process to bring other lenders, and again, to help that flow of capital onto trust land. So, okay, so we are running out of time. I'd like to just go back down and have, if anyone has any concluding remarks, and I don't know, Patrice, if we have time for questions. Okay. My clock says 4. No, I'm just kidding. Let's just have closing thoughts from any of the panelists.
I would just say that we're out there as agencies and as lenders. The communication is truly key, and the working together is truly key. It's not easy doing loans on Indian country. Nobody said it was going to be, and it's not the same as in non-Indian country. We kind of have to make it up as we go along, and we do the best that we can, but by collaborating, we can all work this together. And there's enough power in this room to get it done. We just need to move forward.
Communication and partnerships. Great, thanks. Tim?
Well, and that last discussion was kind of tough for me because, you know, all the tribes, I've been doing this 26 years now and working for the Bureau of Indian Affairs. All the tribes are different. You know, all the tribes have different priorities. Housing may not be as high for some tribes as others. We all can say, yes, it should be. And we all know how important housing is. We've all heard those comments today. And but there may be other needs that are more extensive, more problematic throughout the reservation. So I think we just have to keep that in mind. And what I want to strive to do is to work with the tribes directly and find out what each tribe's priority is, and then work from that basis. So that's going to be my my goal.
So follow the lead of the tribe.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Ted?
I would just say that we're not, well, it's hard to predict the future, but we've been around for a while, and we've been invested in this issue, and frankly, we've fallen short in some ways small, in some ways larger. and it's Lynn and I's job to help encourage our agency, our leadership, and our staff on the ground to better deliver our programs on tribal trust land, and we're committed to that. And it's just not right that we're still at the same place we were 15 years ago. We've made a lot of progress and we focused on that progress, but what's not right and what continues to motivate myself and I think our agency is how we can get more people in homes that they own. And we're very committed to that. So as long as Congress gives us the authority to do these programs, we're going to be here. We'll be a part of the table. We probably won't be leading the charge. We don't have an Indian-specific program like the HUD 184, so we want to stay joined at the hip with our partners at both the Bureau and the VA and at HUD, and we want to follow your lead and continue to do better.
So stay forward-looking.
Yep.
Same, communicate, educate, and listen. Our tribal partners, as we all have said, no two are the same. So oftentimes when they call us and they say they have a housing need, sometimes I sit back and listen. Instead of telling them what I can offer, I want to hear what they want. And then when they tell me what they want, then I try to figure out how to make it work. So listening as well is very important.
Great. Well, if you all could join me in thanking this amazing panel.